Good evening, everyone. My name is Dwayne Kimball, owner and founder of KMD89 VA Claims Consulting, United States Army veteran and retired VA rating specialist. I am joined this evening with David Piatek from VA Housing Education. How we doing, David?
Doing great. Thank you, Dwayne. Thanks for having me on again. Last webinar we did, or last live event we did, man, we had a lot of people inquiring about, buying a home or refinancing. So shout out and thank you to everyone that reached out. There was a lot of people that we were able to help um, and save money. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was looking at something on Facebook today, and they were talking about the interest rate when it was high, and now when people were waiting on the interest rate to drop to purchase a home, and they gave this little scenario. It was like $87 difference or something like that. It's like, but we're programmed that way, and I was the same way. And like when you go buy a car, you're like, man, interest rate is like, I'm waiting on that GMAC, yeah, was it GMAC?
GMT.
Yeah, to come down to that 0.001% financing opposed to going to, 0.1 financing or something like that. But yeah. Oh, also, before we get started, Dave, I saw a video that you uploaded on your YouTube channel today.
That I
Very
upload. Oh yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. A lot of good information. Every time, we talk or I see a video, I always learn something new. So again, thank you for spreading that knowledge to veterans. So the topic today, veteran home ownership in 2024. So can you explain some things that veterans need to be that they can be doing and they should be doing in this new year as it pertains to veteran home ownership?
Do we have 8 hours to talk about that? So, listen, that's one of the, a lot of veterans' New Year's resolution is how do I become a homeowner in 2024, right? There's a lot of perks with the VA home loan, right? There's a lot of misconceptions around the program, like you have to put money down, which you don't, right? It's 100% financing. Now, does it always make sense to do that? It really depends on each person's individual financial position, right? And the one thing, like in January, that we're not exposing, but we're making people aware of is that really your budget and your credit have the biggest influence on your ability to use a VA home loan. Because there's two parts, right? There's eligibility and qualification, right? Pretty much everybody that served on active duty or the National Guard, they're going to be eligible to use their VA home loan. Now, just because you have that certificate of eligibility to be able to go out and buy a property, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can, right? And that's kind of like the interesting dynamic around the VA loan, because technically, yes, there's no minimum credit score that lenders have to use a VA loan, but lenders do put overlays because if you haven't made any payments on time for 2 years, what makes you think that you're going to make a payment on a mortgage? Now, you might be thinking like, well, that's me. But the reality is that the lenders take a look at it and those loans are guaranteed by the VA. So if it makes sense, it's doable, right? But understanding that and empowering yourself to know those limits and your financial position, it sets you up for success, right? We've talked in previous shows, the better your credit, the better financing terms, the better rates you get, the lower fees you get. And it's not income driven, right? You make 200,000 a year, you make 30,000 a year. Your credit can be the exact same. It could be really good or it could be really bad. And that's one of the things I also kind of talk about is that credit is something you control, nobody else. Credit is managed by budgeting, and budgeting is managed by you for you to take ownership of the bills, your credit, how you use it, how you don't use it. Some people don't even have any credit because they pay everything in cash, which I think is great. But at the same time, there's some challenges that come with it when you're trying to get a loan for when you need it, right? Because if you're trying to buy a car, they're going to look at it and go like, well, you have no credit, so we're going to charge you a higher fee. And it's not like you have to go out there and put $300,000 worth of credit cards on your, on your credit report, but you got to know how to manage it on a daily basis or monthly basis, however you look at it. Right. I personally love using credit cards because I get the points, right? So I get some of the money back that I am already going to spend. Right. So all those things are going to factor into that process. And with time and or money, you can pretty much fix any situation that you're in.
Yeah. In that video that you scheduled on your YouTube channel earlier, you talked just briefly about using, I think you call it big box companies, the big companies.
Yeah.
And I remember I was refinancing my rental property, my long-term rental property, and my home. And, we didn't know each other then, but I was going
Unfortunately.
through, yeah. And you were talking about all the hidden fees and all this other
Yeah.
stuff. Now, I'm pretty sure I got hit with some of those fees. And then even after talking to you, I went back to my closing disclosure. And I was like, wait a minute, let me, look through this, look at some things David talked about. But, the way I like the way that you break it down, the way you explain it. And when I can remember when I was on the phone with those representatives, I thought I was, educated to a good level. And then after talking to you, I was like, okay, I didn't ask that. I definitely didn't ask that. And so I like the way you break it down. And also in the video, you were talking about what you just mentioned, credit and some other things. And you were like, hey, look, call us. We'll help you, get a better understanding, getting pre-qualified to move forward. And that's what I preach and stress on the VA compensation side.
Right.
You have to get educated on this stuff. If you don't have someone in your corner like you or myself on the VA claims process, and you just don't, delve into it, jump right off into it, you could be, sliding down a razor blade with no clothes on in a pool of alcohol, and it's going to sting, you know. So
It's like riding a bike while on fire. It doesn't make sense.
yeah,
And
yeah,
like that's how I met you actually, because I was researching the VA disability process, right? And it's not, I don't turn to myself, read some stuff online and be like, okay, now I know how to do Dwayne's job. There's just no way. You can't replace that wisdom, that experience, and actually going through that yourself and seeing it to be able to then let people know, hey, this is how you shift your left and right limits to make what you want to do by empowering yourself possible.
right, right. We got 55 people here this evening. Make sure we get those likes up. We are going to get to some of these questions, but Dave, I got a question to some of our viewers.
Yep.
One, who has never purchased a home that is looking to purchase a home in 2024, and who is currently looking to refinance in 2024? Are you looking right now? Because we get asked questions all the time, and so I'm gonna throw it back into some of our viewers to their court and ask them, hey, who. I can remember when I watched your video today, I was thinking about when I first bought my first home. I bought it in Country Club Hills, Illinois, southern suburb of Chicago. And I remember going to the closing, and my cousin is a lawyer. Her husband is a lawyer. And I said, hey, my uncle said, hey, talk with, Danny and have him walk you through the process. And we went to closing. And you know how many documents you have to sign? I sat there with him, and he flipped each page and explained it to me and said, okay, now sign there. Flipped it. And I was like, at this point, after 30 minutes, I'm just let me sign. But he explained it, each page, and that lady says in the closing office, she says, I've never had an attorney come in and do that. And I'm glad I had him in my corner, just like somebody like yourself, for the reasons that you explained. So while we start these questions, David, I'm going to pose questions to everyone that's watching tonight. Are you going to purchase your first home in 2024? 2, are you looking to refinance? And 3, if you are you going to call David? Okay. In the description section of this video is his contact information where you can schedule an appointment. Click the link and make the reservation, reserve your spot to speak with him. Okay. So, Dave, I would love to ask you more questions, but I want to get to some of these questions in the comment section. Okay.
Let's
Okay.
shoot.
This is the first one for you.
Oh man, we got this one. This one could be a short answer into a very long one. All right, so this is actually a good question because I've had a lot of people reach out to me lately that are buying new construction properties, and then the builders actually kind of forcing them in a way to use their in-house lenders. So one of the question that we have asked here is that should you use the lenders? Hold on, I just had a brain freeze there. Should you
The
use
lender's banker.
the builder's lender, or should you source an outside piece, right? Because those builders give big incentives or sometimes small incentives to use their builder. And so what we've seen since our last video that was done about a month ago is that we look at these new construction loan estimates from these builders, and basically they give you a credit to only charge you that money. So there's really no savings, right? So I seen one where they were giving a $10,000 credit, but the interest rate was almost a percentage higher. And then you had to use that money to buy their interest rate down, right? So there's really no money going back to the client. And so it's kind of like smoke and mirrors that a lot of times that I see, right? Nothing is free in life. You have to pay for it one way or another. So that's just something that you should be aware of, especially when you're doing new construction, right? You have the lending component to it. And I also urge you, even though it's horrible and it's boring, is to actually read the contract you're signing. Because I had somebody that was purchasing a property, and the builder actually made them pay their fees on top of it. So it cost this veteran an additional $30,000 in fees because they didn't thoroughly read the contract and they didn't have anybody representing them. So the contract you need to understand the contract and what you're actually responsible for. And the other component is to ask for a loan estimate. And on our side, we can actually do a free comparison. We can look at it and be like, yes, this is like legit. Hey, you're good to go. Or we'll just tell you straight up, like, they're overcharging you. It's just smoke and mirrors. So great question on that, but it definitely is going to depend on that loan officer or that mortgage company and how they structure that with the builder.
Wow. Good answer. Good answer. Here's the next one for you, David.
Let's see. 100% PNT. So max amount of property VA loans adhere to. Can I acquire multiple properties at the same time? All right. Great question on that. So you can use, how to explain this? There's two sets of rules. When you don't have an outstanding VA home loan, there's no limit on what you can purchase as long as you're both eligible and qualified. So eligibility means you don't have an outstanding VA home loan, and qualification is, can you actually pay for it? So if you want to buy a $4 million property with zero money down, you can do that with a VA home loan. Now, the other caveat to that is that if you have an outstanding VA home loan, then you're going to be capped at a certain dollar amount. Okay. And after that dollar amount, you do have to put a down payment. So it really depends on where you buy in the country. Technical answer is it's based on the single family Fannie Mae loan limit based on the area median income. And basically, like, let's say in the DC area, the limit's $1,149,825, I believe. And then it's in the rest of the country, it's $766,550. Just running some numbers off the top of my head. Okay. So if you combine that, let's say you're in like the general United States where it's $766,550. If you buy a place for $266,500, you still have $500,000 to use without a down payment. And you can have multiple VA loans that you can purchase. You just can't buy them all at the same time. You buy a property, you wait a little bit, and then you purchase another property. But it has to make sense to do that, right? If you have a single family home and you're trying to buy the home next door and it's the exact same property as yours, That's not going to make sense. We had a client literally buy a home next door to them, but they were on a split level and their parents were living with them. The home for sale next door was a ranch style, so they didn't have, or whatever they call, where they don't have necessarily the steps that they have to go upstairs and downstairs. Well, that made sense, right? If you buy a multi-unit and you're trying to buy another multi-unit in the same area, that makes it a little bit challenging. So you definitely have to have a strategy in place when you're using your VA loan, especially if you're trying to build a portfolio of loans or properties for you to be able to rent out or whatever the case may be. There could be it's like an onion. There's multiple layers to it, right? We might look and say, hey, let's do an FHA loan. Let's do a conventional loan for a multi-unit, because now you could do 5% down on a conventional loan. So again, it's your strategy, it's your savings, it's your budget. And how does that play into the overall strategy that you want to take on to build wealth? Because through real estate, you can definitely do it. We meet active duty folks and veterans that have 5 or 6 properties. They're cash flowing $15,000 a month. But remember, you own an investment property. Is it exactly easy to manage tenants that don't pay, or there's state? I'm not even. I'm sorry I went down that route, Dwayne. I know we talked about it, but the thing is like there's factors that are they going to fit your lifestyle to be able to then go into that, right? I personally don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with the tenants. I don't want to deal with having a 4-unit where I have to evict people or whatever the case may be, right? It's just an additional step that you have to factor in for your decision.
Dave, the way you broke that down, I'm gonna ask you a question, and I know you know the answer to this because the way you broke that down, you got the answer to this. When the space shuttle re-enters the Earth's atmosphere, and what axis does the Earth need to be?
That one, I'm gonna go ahead and plead the fifth. I don't know that one.
Well, you broke it down. You broke it down. All right, we're gonna keep moving here. Let's see. Okay, here we go. That's for you, David.
Can you use a property to purchase a property overseas with your VA home loan? As long, I know one person answered it next, is that they had basically, as long as it's a U.S. territory, you can use your VA home loan to do that. If you're buying, like we have a lot of clients in Japan or in Germany, then you won't be able to leverage your VA loan to purchase a property. Now, if you own a property back stateside, you can always get a home equity line of credit. So basically, you take a line of credit on a property you own, and then you're basically purchasing it for cash overseas, right? So basically, you would take the line of credit fully, deposit that into your account, transfer it to overseas currency, and then you could purchase a property. But just note that laws are different. Housing laws are different in the United States compared to the rest of the world. The beauty about the United States is that once you purchase a property, that is your property, unless it's like eminent domain that you can't take it away. But in other countries, they can just snap of a finger, take properties away from you. They have residency requirements as well for the type of properties that you're purchasing. So keep that in mind when you're going down. And also, like, you can't sue people necessarily as easy as you can here in the United States. So all that's going to be factored into that decision process.
Right. So the reason why I'm popping this up, David, this has been a long subscriber and actually fraternity brother of mine, and he's from
Awesome.
Arkansas. So what I want to bring to his attention this evening is University of Mizzou, they beat Ohio State and Arkansas. He's a Razorback. Didn't even go to a bowl game. So I just had to put that up there to mess with him.
Makes sense.
All right. Dito girl, what's up, DK? From San Antonio, found some land. I'll say, okay, Dito girl, have you called David? Because I know you're saying you and your husband was going to purchase a property in, I believe, Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully you get that going really soon. I'm assuming found some land, new construction, David, which you just explained earlier. Okay.
Yeah.
All
And
right. Go ahead, Dave.
I was going to just mention one thing on that is that you can use the VA loan to do 100% construction loan with land acquisition, but you can't use it just to buy land and do nothing with it.
Okay. So this one is for you, David.
All right, let's see. Today, the USA home insurance rep asked me what made me decide to buy a home. I told her give it to my for my anxiety. Maybe the rates are going, and I don't know if that was down, but the sellers can raise the price, and that's something that we've talked about in the past, right? Is that when is the time to buy? And it's literally like right now through February is the time that you want to get into home ownership or wherever rates are. Because as rates drop throughout the year, is what they've predicted. I'm not the one saying it, it's what's been out there in the community. Is that when rates drop, values of properties go up. It's easier to lock in a mortgage and a payment you're comfortable with today than waiting for rates to drop and you're purchasing at a higher value. Okay, you're going to pay more no matter what if the rates drop. If you lock in a property now, and I did it myself, I just bought a place, so it's not like I'm just saying it for fun. Um, then
Down
you
the
can
street from Michael Jordan's old
yeah, I don't
residence,
think
right?
so. I don't. Well, actually, I'm not. I don't think he lives far. But anyways, the thing is that you at least lock in the price of the property, and then you can refinance and even get a lower payment versus waiting for rates to drop, values go up, and then you're stuck in the same position.
I think David, and I had that mindset that you just explained, waiting on the rates to drop. I think we're programmed that way. Because I was talking about it last year before I met you. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna wait till the race drop. I'm gonna wait till the race drops. I was just thinking that way, not thinking, hey, let me get a line of credit and go purchase another property because it'll pay for itself and then just refinance when they drop. I just think it's a mindset, and it's like the older you get, you're not acceptable to change. you know and I think just you saying it, someone like yourself that's subject matter expert in this area, and saying it again and again and again, I get it now because we've had numerous conversations. I get it, and hopefully a lot of veterans that are watching tonight and follow us, they will, if they haven't already got it, eventually get it. I get it, it's ingrained. So I'm like, oh, I want to purchase a property or whatever. Oh, let me call David. Oh, I'm looking at the house. Let me call David. Oh, I'm maybe thinking about this. Let me call David. So definitely, again, that's awesome to bring that out.
Dwayne, I
Bring it
got
up.
you on speed dial, brother. Yeah. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dwayne and Dave. Hey, appreciate the support. And before we get to the next question, I have a YouTube channel, KMD89 VA Claims Consulting, and David has a YouTube channel, VA Housing Education. Go to his channel, subscribe. I was sitting here today and I was on the home screen. I was looking for something, and when I went back to my home screen, that video had popped up, and it was like, "Oh, just uploaded a video 56 minutes ago," and I'm like, "Oh, let me watch it," and that's how I knew I was like, oh, we're going to touch on that later on
Yeah.
this evening. So definitely go to his channel, watch some of his videos. If you're on LinkedIn, connect with him on LinkedIn. I think you did a video with, I can't remember her name. Uh,
Lourdes.
yep, last week. And I was like, oh, he's live. Let me chime in and support. I think I asked a question and say, hey, keep doing what you're doing or something like that.
Appreciate
So
it.
he's given a lot of information. And I'm going to tell you all, I keep my network small, okay? And I try to get the right people in my network, and Dave is that right person, especially when it comes to this housing. If I go and buy something else, and I was like, hey, and my wife was thinking about doing this, and I think, yeah, we were in my living room. He flew all the way down from Chicago. We had a meeting right in the kitchen, and my wife came down. I was like, "Hey, this is David. Listen to what he has to
Yeah,
say."
I know.
She was like, "Oh, So it's not like just me and David just got on here and just started doing this. Initially, we did, but he's actually been to my home. We sat down, we broke bread, have a conversation. We were like, "Hey, how do we want to do this for 2024?" to bring it to veterans so veterans don't get screwed over when they go and they purchase a home. So that's definitely awesome. But let's keep it moving. This is for you, Dave. Can you use your VA home loan for investment property purchases?
Another great question. So you can't buy a property solely as an investment property. So let's say I live in Chicago and I want to buy a place in Tampa. And if that was the case, I would have to actually live in that property. And then after purchasing and living in that property, yes, you could turn it into an investment property. The VA does have a clause that you intend to occupy a property within 60 days of closing it. The key word there is you intend to occupy that property. If life changes happen, well, then you don't have to move into that property. But when a lender qualifies you, and let's say I'm in Chicago, but I want to buy in Tampa, they're going to see, does he work remote? Does the situation make sense? Is he transferring to Florida? All of that's going to be factored in. And then, yes, you can turn it into an investment property. So you can have multiple VA home loans that are in, or multiple properties with a VA loan that are an investment property, but at one point you've occupied that property. That includes the same thing, like let's say buying a 4-unit building, right? If you buy a 4-unit building, you have to occupy one of the units at least for a period of time. The misconception is that you have to live in a property for a year before you can rent it. That is not a VA rule. That is an FHA rule. And yes, you can use the VA loan as an investment vehicle. It's in the VA handbook. It's your God-given right to use the VA loan as you please, as long as you certify initially that you're going to be living in it. The only exception to that is if you're on active duty. Then a spouse or child can satisfy occupancy requirements, meaning that if I'm in let's say in Germany, but my wife and child are going to be living in Chicago, I could still use my VA loan, purchase an owner occupied property, and my spouse and child will live in that property, and I certify that. If you're a veteran, then it's a little bit different. You have up to a year to technically occupy that property. So 60 days of closing, you occupy, nothing is needed. If you go from 60 days to a year, you're going to have to explain why your situation warrants that. Anything over a year, the VA is just not going to accept it. But that's for veterans only. Again, not active duty.
Okay. Everyone, I just put David's calendar in the comment section. He has appointments tomorrow, the 17th, 18th, man, on Saturday and Sunday. Okay. So
Yeah,
he
we
has
have a team of people. So yeah. So you'll be talking with me. My dad works with me. So
okay. All right. Cool. All right, let's keep going. This one is for you, David.
I said I just bought my first home last year. Just found out we won't capital gains tax if you live in at least 2 years. Can the 2-year frame be waived for veterans? Oh, that's a good question. So for a lot of folks that don't know, is that let's say you buy a property for $200,000 and the property appreciation is so high that now your property is worth $400,000. So you're going to make $200,000 in a very short period of time. If you sell your home and don't buy another property, and I'm not a CPA, so talk to a CPA. That's my disclaimer, but I see it happen all the time. And you don't reinvest in another property, then you're going to be subject to capital gain taxes. Now, if it's a primary residence, okay, and you've lived there for a certain period of time, up to a certain dollar amount, depending if you're married or single, you're going to be exempt from paying those taxes. Now, there is no waiver for veterans because that is a federal thing.
Okay. All right. So we're going to keep going. The next question here. That's
How
for
do I
you, David.
find it? Oh, dang. And they listed by state. This is the.
I
All
know you
right.
had
So,
talked about this assumable loans, VA assumable loans before, but I think you were along the lines of if it was a family member or something, the way you explained it before.
so yeah. So, well, no. So this is the thing. So the family member was like for estate planning purposes because
Okay.
we can do like a whole show just on like how an assumable mortgage works, right? So assumable mortgage, all VA home loans are assumable. So what that means is that let's say I have a home that I have a mortgage balance of 400,000 on, but it's worth $500,000, and I have a 2.25% interest rate. And Dwayne's like, you know what, David, I want to buy your home and I want to keep that 2.25% interest rate. Can I do that? Yes, you can. All VA home loans are assumable. So Dwayne can assume my $400,000 mortgage at 2.25% interest rate, take over, basically put his benefits onto my property, and I get my benefits back, right? It's called a substitution of entitlement because he's putting his entitlement on mine, and mine are getting released back to me, and I can do whatever I want to do. The other way is that for estate planning purposes, let's say I am, I'm thinking like, well, if something happens to me, what's going to happen with the mortgage? Then I can actually pass that down to my kids by them assuming my mortgage, even though they're not veterans, and locking my benefits into that property. And if you have a VA disability rating that prevents you, or that you don't have to pay property taxes, all you do is after you close, you add yourself back on title and you get your exemption to continue. Now, the only company that I know of that currently does sources assumable mortgages is assumelist.com. It's a Marine buddy of mine, Mike. He owns that company. They're in a couple states right now. They're going to be expanding throughout the country. And I work with him to provide the lending component through that for the entire country. So assumelist.com is where that's at. But yeah, it is somewhat limited. The challenge with assumable mortgages, to be honest with you, is that one, they're very time consuming. So they take anywhere from 3 months to 6 months to complete. But sellers don't get their benefits actually back until about 60 days or so after they've closed on a mortgage. So they can't use their VA loan again right away. And then the other challenge is that in my example is that Dwayne would have to come to the table with $100,000 to be able to purchase my property at the $500,000 mark and then assume the 400 and cash of 100. So that's where a lot of people's pain points are. Yes, you can get a second mortgage and an assumable mortgage, but it's not that easy and it's lender specific because the VA doesn't really have anything. So a lot of restrictions come up. But you can leverage, like I said, a TSP account or a 401k, or if you got parents that want to give you money, also please pass my information and Dwayne's on. We would like to take some cash as well.
Yeah.
So kind of keep that in mind for that.
Yeah. So we got Dodge skill projected to do the closing on my first home. Congrats.
Awesome.
Yeah. If anything happens or it falls through, you need to be contacting David. Again, everyone, I put his one-on-one mortgage consultation link in the comment section. He has availability starting tomorrow. Okay.
It's like 7-Eleven, always open, but not always doing business.
There you go. Stephen, thanks for the donation. Really appreciate it. And this I just got a call from a gentleman that I grew up with. His dad, I knew his dad. We're all in the same fraternity. His dad was one of my Sunday school teachers, and we all grew up in the same church. His dad passed away, and he was an art teacher in one of the schools in my town. And he says, "Hey, he was asking for some donations. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to donate $500 from my grandmother's nonprofit that I created, that I give scholarships to families in low-income areas, children that are in low-income areas." And so this year, I'm going to give $1,000 scholarship from my grandmother's foundation to the church that I grew up in the small town of Missouri, and I'm going to give a $500 donation to his dad's foundation. And this is all from the donations and the revenue that I generate from YouTube. So, Stephen, thank you for that donation. Definitely appreciate it. Okay, so let's keep going.
All right. I want to sell the one I live in favor of buying another home in the state that I actually want to live in. That's a story for a lot of people. and that's kind of the thing. You can keep it as an investment property if you have enough entitlement to purchase another property, or you could just get rid of it completely and purchase another property using your VA home loan. So definitely some flexibility. There's a good caveat with what you're trying to do, especially if you are buying with the VA home loan, is that if I want to purchase another property and I have a current mortgage, it actually gets completely wiped out with like a rental market comparison, and I don't need additional reserves to do that. I could basically omit my entire current mortgage payment so it doesn't affect me for purchasing another property. So definitely that's why another reason the VA home loan is phenomenal to use again, or you're looking to sell and buy, definitely also makes sense if you don't want to be a landlord, like I mentioned.
Right, right. So here, Mary says, looking for a home in NYC. Please help. Mary, reach out to David. I'm going to put his contact information in the comment section again. Okay. Make sure before we get off tonight, we got about another 30 minutes or less, 25 minutes before we get off tonight. Make sure anyone that's on here tonight, make sure you schedule your appointment with David. Okay. And I'm going to ask David, hey, how many emails did you get of people that signed up to speak with you right before we get before we get off? Yeah. I'm definitely going to ask that. Okay. Steph says, bought his book, helped me with my VA disability claim. David, thank you for the support for the book. Yep. There you go.
Got it. I
David.
got a signed copy
Yeah, and actually, David got his copy in person,
in
signed
person.
in person.
That was awesome.
So right now, I am out of books, and hopefully, I should have about 200 coming in this week. And so we're going to be this weekend. Hopefully, if we get them Thursday or Friday this weekend, I'm going to be sending those books out. So my mail person is going to be busy picking up those books. So again, thank you for the support. We're getting a lot of reviews of individuals like self saying, "Hey, this has been a game changer for them on this VA claims process. Just wanted to write something that will help veterans to be able to execute." So if this is your first night joining us, I have a YouTube channel with over 400 videos where I'm educating veterans on the VA claims process. I was a former rating specialist for the VA. So if you ever received a rating in the mail, I used to write those for the VA. And I remember telling David that for the first time we were on Zoom. He was like, what wait, you did what? You So yeah. Also, VA housing education. Make sure you go out to their YouTube channel and subscribe as well. Let's keep going. All right. I'm in a 20-year
Or
VA.
12-year refinance,
Okay.
lender has a department dedicated. Yeah, so some places are gonna have like the departments that specialize in answering questions. But just remember, a lot of lenders are gonna have overlays, so you don't always get the correct information from them. And this is a common thing that comes up all the time where unfortunately, Dwayne, we get calls on a weekly basis where someone gets denied for a mortgage a week before closing or a day before closing because a lender misses something, or they use like these big box, which you've mentioned them before.
Mhm.
One, they overcharge like crazy, and two, they're just they're not experts in what they're doing. Yes, they do VA loans, but for them, it's pretty easy. Like if they have a fallout rate of 20%, to them it makes no difference because they're still making money. And that's the difference with working with us. It's that it's more of like a concierge, right? You're going to talk with us. I laugh when people, when I call people when they schedule an appointment, they're like, I'm actually talking to you on the phone. And then they're like, I don't know. But then, we laugh or something. They're like, oh yeah, that is you. So like, yeah, so it's pretty funny. I'm sure you've had that happen
Oh
too.
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but yes, we're real people. We actually pick up the phone and we're going to help you.
Yeah, I get that. And they one lady say, "Oh, wait a minute, is this the bald headed black guy with the bow tie on YouTube?" I say, "Yes, ma'am. That's me." And they just
That's so
they're
funny.
shocked. They're shocked. So, all right, let's keep going here. Dave, this is for you as well.
Yep, looking to buy a rental property with current. Yeah, and this is actually a good position to be in. You have a conventional loan, and now you want to utilize your VA home loan. Now, again, it's going to depend on what you're trying to do. Because if you, let's say, bought a multi-unit, now trying to buy a single-family home all day long. Remember, you can upsize and downsize with the VA loan as long as it makes sense to use it. But yes, it is a powerful thing when you have a VA loan. But again, you would have to occupy that property and then change it to a investment property. So it's definitely possible, but again, depends on your situation.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. This one is for you, David.
Yep.
Man,
Looking at
a lot of it is for you. I remember the first time we did this, Dave. Hey, but I'm not complaining. Go, I'm not complaining at all.
Yeah, so I guess it's more of like a statement into somewhat of a question, right? Yeah, gathering all the necessary documents is the key, right? That's where the pre-approval is so critical in that process. If people are not asking you for all your documents and maybe a blood sample, you got some problems, right? If it's too easy, it's you know how that works in life. When something's too easy, you're like, that's it, and then you have a pre-approval. You got to make sure you need all that. Um, Now, putting down 2,700, that might be if you have an outstanding VA home loan, your math might be requiring you to do a down payment. The other piece is that you might have to pay for closing costs, even though you're getting a seller credit. So it's really going to depend on that situation. I just encourage you in this situation, schedule a call with me, and then at least I could see what you're doing. And again, even if you're under contract, like one of the other people said, they're closing in 30 days. There's nothing that restricts you from working with another lender. So we can review that loan estimate. And again, if it makes sense, all right. And people that I've been on calls with me, I mean, if you're out there, put a comment, like we'll tell you if it's good or no good. Like if you have a deal or no deal, we'll always be honest with you because we know not only that, just integrity is critical, but you're always going to be back on here.
Yeah. And the other thing is, you know, they're working with you. You're a veteran.
Right.
You're a veteran owned company, and they're working and supporting another veteran. Also, Dave, quick question. Now, if in that scenario you said, hey, closing within 30 days, and I'll contact you and you say, hey, this does not make sense. We can do better. If we come to you and you pull that hard credit report and it's still within a 30-day window, it doesn't hurt my credit score, correct?
You
If
have
it's pulled within the 30.
Good question, Wayne. So you have a 45-day window per the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that you could have unlimited credit pulls without it'll count as one credit inquiry, right? So
Right.
you have flexibility. They don't want to restrict people. And even if it's outside that window and you're purchasing a place, if you can save a couple $1,000s in your pocket, is it worth making a phone call and getting a credit inquiry? It won't affect your current purchase. If you're like, you know what, I'm going to stick with what I have, guess what? Nothing changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the one thing that a lot of people, and we talked about this too last time, is that there's companies out there that have really good marketing material and also really good salespeople.
Mhm.
We're not focusing on sales, just like what you do, Dwayne. It's like, let's educate you and we're gonna make it make sense, or it's not gonna make sense, right? And I'll be the first one to tell you if something doesn't make sense. But if it does, I'll also let you know.
Yeah. When I the home that I'm in now, I called and I was like, I told Linda, I was like, I think it was Wells Fargo, if I'm not mistaken. I was like, I'm gonna go get a second opinion. And the first thing that the loan officer says, "Oh, it's gonna hurt your credit." And I said, "Well, how many points do you think?" I was like, "Oh, I'm so scared. How many points do you think is gonna drop my credit score?" He's like, "Oh, if you go with somebody else and they pull a hard inquiry, you're looking at 10 points maximum." I say, "So 10 points, right?" And he was like, "Yeah." I say, "Well, my credit score is at currently at 827. So if I drop down to 817, I'm still good." Dead silence on the phone. And I think that's one of those scare tactics that you were saying earlier.
Oh
And
yeah.
somebody, is not educated, they're going to be like, "Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go anywhere else." But just like you explained, hey, give you a call and, look at some documentation and see if it makes sense.
That's all it is.
Never know. Brad says, "I'm hopefully going to buy within a year or so." But Brad, have you contacted David? Had that conversation? That's the question that we have for you.
Oh, and another thing with that is that people ask me all the time, when should I be looking to see if I qualify for a VA home loan? As far out as humanly possible. And the reason why is that just like the VA, they don't have common sense at times. Okay. And sometimes you might be thinking of your financial picture in one way, like, of course I can afford this. But when we look at it, we're going to be like, wait a second, we're going to actually have to look at it a different way. You may not qualify for as much, or you might qualify for more. but knowing that well in advance positions you in a much better position to be able to make that decision, right? You're not kind of like, you're not winging it.
Yeah. All right. So we got about a little less than 15 minutes. We're gonna go do our speed round here and get through
The speed
these.
rounds are fun.
Yeah. I mean, I
But
think
yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, they shouldn't be allowed to do it, but they do it. It's mind blowing. I live in a city with a classified condo. I haven't been told I can't have a VA loan. Is this true? Oh, so this is Randy. This is great. What that means is that all condos require VA condo approval. So when they tell you you can't do it, I laugh because we do it all the time when condos are like, "Well, we're not going to do it." And the reason there's some logic behind it. One, it costs about $1,500 if you hire a third party company to do it for you while you're in the transaction. But guess what? We do it for free because I'm literally the one that's going to do the VA condo approval. Two, all condos can be VA approved even if they're denied. And the reason why is we could do a waiver on any condo. So in your situation, basically what we would do is we would still accept the contract, and then we would just request all the regular documents we would need anyways as a lender, and we just submit it to the VA in your behalf. And then if it comes back approved, great, we move on. If it comes back denied, as long as it's nothing crazy, then we're going to go ahead and we can submit a waiver. The VA only looks at two things: leasing restrictions and the right of first refusal. They don't look at the financials. The most important parts of a veteran buying a condo, they don't factor in, right? So those are things you have to be aware of. If a condo is already VA approved, it's VA approved for life. So if it got approved 20 years ago, guess what? The VA is not going to look at it again. So you could actually be buying into a money pit. I teach and wrote a financing course for condos. So we can go dive into that. But yeah, if you guys got questions, sorry, I kind of get carried away because like I love this stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm going to take the. I'm going to let you respond to this, Dave. So you go ahead and read it. But Dito girl, I would say um, it's probably not legal because you didn't go through David. But I'll go ahead and let David answer that.
Dwayne, thank you for that. So I mean, good question, right? So found a home, they went to buy with the VA home loan in what was that, Mississippi?
Yeah, Mississippi.
Mississippi. How do you use his for VA home here in Texas? This is it's definitely legal. You could do that. Yeah, and there's a lot of, and that's the cool thing about having dual military. Man, you got a lot of flexibility if the other person is going to actually use their VA home loan, Dwayne. So that's the key, right? Is that you can do it as long as it makes financial sense and the financial picture piece is going to all come together, right? If you're buying in Mississippi, is your job there? If you were retired and you're just collecting, let's say, disability and social security, well, you could live anywhere. You could literally move every 6 months or a year and buy a property as long as it makes sense.
Take a line of credit.
Yeah, someone says took a line of credit from for the property I already own in the state. So yeah, definitely. That's the thing too. Is like if you have a very low interest rate mortgage, okay. The question is that do you do a refinance? Because you can actually cash out refinance up to 100% of the value of your property, which is crazy. It's the only loan program you can do that. But then you're not going to get, let's say, the 2.25% or 3% interest rate you have right now. Taking a HELOC out, home equity line of credit, can make sense, but it can also make sense to do a personal loan. Depends on how much money you need and what you want to do. For some people that we've actually helped from our last show, taking cash out made more sense because it was cheaper, and the V loan was the only program that would let them do that. So again, it depends on your financial picture, but that is a great point.
Yep. Okay, it says the singer, disgruntled football fanatic. He must be a Cowboys or Eagles fans. Go Bucks. Uh, it's that time. Long time no see, sir. Where you at? You in New York City? You in Thailand? Bali? Let me know where you at. Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. All right. Ooh, this threw me off because this is a couple.
Dwayne, you get to have one.
I know I get that one. Currently 100% permanent total for disability, not in law anymore. Not understand that. I want to file a secondary utility scared to get reduced. Jamaica kid, that's I think a lot of people on YouTube say, "Oh, if you're 100% permanent total, don't go in because they'll reduce you. They'll open up everything." That's my claims file right there. Okay. As a former rater, I've rated several cases where veterans were 100% permanent total. They came in and I didn't go back and look at everything. Now, I have some videos where I discuss where I did have to go back and look at something. So if you're doing that, make sure you talk to someone that is knowledgeable and explain what could and could not happen. Okay, it's not automatic. You got to ask yourself: are you claiming an increase in something that you're already service connected for? And if that percentage has been in effect less than 5 years, if you go to the exam and it shows improvement, yep, proposal to reduce. If that lowers your overall rating under 95%, that could be a problem. Hello, Mr. Francisco. Thank you for the support. I did reach back out to you on LinkedIn. Thank you for connecting with me. Okay. Oh, here's another. Currently 100% permanent total disability, not any law anymore. Does the 10-year rule protect your rating from future rating schedule changes? And I'm going to do a video on this. If the VA, let's say, for instance, service connected for a mental condition, about a year and a half ago, the VA came out to propose the general rating criteria. If it changes and you're already service connected, you're grandfathered in. They're not going to go back through everybody's claim and let's see if they meet the new criteria. Now, if you come back in and you fall under that new criteria and it's a lower percentage and it had been in effect for 5 years, that could be a problem.
Oh, I learned something.
Right. So there's 3 proposed changes to remove tinnitus, change the 50% criteria for sleep apnea, and change the entire general rating criteria for the mental condition. Get your claim in now. Stop dragging your feet. Get it in now, because we don't know if the VA is going to say, okay, effective this particular date. So all claims received on this date and after, get the claim in now. Okay, do not wait. All right, that's David's information, contact information. Mr. Francisco, follows you on LinkedIn. Yep, we definitely appreciate it. Also, go out to VA Housing Education. Make sure you subscribe to their channel. Can you put his YouTube page? VA Housing Education. Also, I think we have it in the description section as well. Did we put your...
I don't know if we put the YouTube channel in, but if you go to, just go to YouTube and put a
VA Housing Education. But we'll make sure we get that in the description section for you as well. Steven said, good answer. Thanks. Not a problem. Here's one for you, David.
Also, if I place a property, that might be more of a restriction based on that company. That's basically what it is, because you can, like, when you look at listings, right, you'll see in there, they'll say assumable mortgage. So, and they'll put their rate in, what the balance is, so then people are not contacting them if they don't have the spread. But that might be just something that they do. You can also go to military, I think it's militaryforsale.com, and you can also post it on there. They don't really charge much, but yeah, if that's the realty listing company, that might be just their own like their own overlay that they can't do that. But that doesn't make sense.
Already in contact with David? Okay. All right. David, we got about 4 minutes left. I'm pretty sure you got some emails from people signed up, right?
Yes, we actually do. I'm seeing the emails coming through right now.
Go.
So that's awesome.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Told him I was going to ask you that before we got off. Linda, can I call you? Have your book, please help. Linda, thanks for the support for the book. You can contact me 2 ways. One, we started our free 15-minute consultation I do have a gentleman that's doing those consultations. He's a retired rating specialist like myself. We got the same training. We actually worked at the same regional office. So talking to him is just like talking to me. Or you can also go to the website, and I do live webinars where I explain what it is we do. Okay. And I take only questions about the services that we provide. So I think the live webinar or the free consultation, because you're going to get to speak to us live. The live webinar, I am only both the consultation and the live webinar. We're just talking about the services that we provide. Make sure you go out to our website and look at those services. Okay. Okay. Say, I meant to say, okay, you lost me with that one. Okay. All right. My phone not working good. Have your book. Hey, I definitely appreciate the support. Steven says, your book helped me win 80%. Could not
Awesome.
have done it without your book. Hey, thanks for the support. And I'm glad that it did help. Again, people, this is David's contact information. I'm putting it in the comment section again. Okay. Because I get asked, hey, where's his contact information? Where's his contact information? In the description section, and you can get it here. Dwayne, how can I talk to you offline about your book? Oh, good question. Send me an email. Did I misspell something in the book? Let me know what happened. Yeah. Okay, Hebrew girl David is very
Thank you.
knowledgeable. Yes, he is. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Here we go.
How far in advance should you get your financial picture looked at? As far out as possible. So if you're looking at Q3, Q4 of this year, 100% now is the time to at least get a pre-approval so you know what your outlook is going to be. Especially like when people are making these big plans, you're planning a lot. You're putting a lot of time into this plan, knowing that you're financially good to go. You want to do it as early as possible. And again, one thing to know is that lenders only look at the last 90 days of credit inquiry. So if you do it now, it doesn't affect you after 90 days. So, but all the other credit companies will show like a 2-year history, which we could do a whole separate video on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
They trying to get down. They trying to get down to the 305 of Miami.
Yes, you can, Carl. Yes. So the VA loan is pretty easy with the husband and wife. If you can have a veteran and a non-veteran and a veteran and a veteran, it's called a joint home loan application. Then that requires either you splitting your benefits if it's 2 veterans, and if it's a veteran and a non-veteran, it requires a 12.5% down payment from the non-veteran. But a husband and wife, you just use your benefits as if you were one. I mean, you
Okay,
have
Dave.
credit.
Okay, Dave. Right before we log off, this last question.
A federal employee can transfer almost anywhere. That's good. Can you only the process of buying a home and transferring to the same job in another city? Yes. So we get this actually a lot as well. If you have already applied for that position at another state or city and state, right? So let's say you're in DC, but you want to move to Atlanta, Georgia. All that has to happen is that your HR has to confirm that you will be transferring to that location at this time or this date. And basically, we can already close at that location if it's within a 60-day window, or if it's more than 60 days up to a year, with an exception, depending on your financial picture.
All right, cool. So that's the last question. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Hebrew girl, thank you for the donation. Definitely appreciate it. She says, DK, you already know we think that you're awesome. Appreciate all you do for us. Hey, I definitely appreciate the support. Everyone, again, make sure you connect with David on his YouTube channel, VA Housing Education. He's also on LinkedIn. We're both on LinkedIn. We stream. I didn't get to stream this on my LinkedIn, but I see it. You streamed it on yours. David. So
Yeah.
make sure you go out, you connect with us. We do these every month. I think we did one like twice, I think last month. But anyway, make sure you connect with us so you can get notified when we go live. Don't forget to go out and subscribe to David's YouTube channel as well, VA Housing Education. Thank you and a good night.